Hey everyone, this is acyuta-bhava from Nightlight Astrology. Happy Friday, everybody, and happy Halloween to everyone who will be celebrating this weekend. I am excited today to take a look at the Astrology of November. We're going to sneak preview all of the major transits of November that I'll be covering on my channel throughout the month. So this gives you a sense of what to watch for over the course of the month. All of these transits, of course, we break down one by one and usually unpack through a variety of different approaches. Sometimes we meditate through the I Ching. Sometimes we kind of look at the archetypal combinations, and sometimes we tell stories about what you guys have experienced or are noticing as the transits go on. So at any rate, that's what we're going to do today. A bunch of good transits to look at. Eclipses are starting to come through. December's astrology is also huge. So it's a bit of a roller coaster the last 2 months of the year, honestly. But before I do that, we are just a little over 2 weeks away on November 13th from the start of my next course, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is my first year program. It begins again November 13th. You can go to my website, nightlightastrology.com, click on the courses tab, go to the first year course, and scroll down to learn all about it. This is something that I poured a lot of life force into creating over the past 5-6 years. I've been teaching this class for 11 years, but over the past 4 or 5, something like that, it's evolved significantly as I've started to focus almost exclusively on teaching Hellenistic astrology, which are the ancient foundations of horoscopic astrology. If I had to put it simply, ancient astrology is like karmic analytics. You're basically learning how to forecast and how to be very accurate in terms of the predictive approach to astrology. In that predictive approach, of course, there's a lot of room for free will, but we're trying to understand what kinds of things are going to happen at what times and what areas of life. And then we talk a lot throughout the program about how to help people prepare and navigate those periods of time, given the kinds of karma that they might have in their birth chart, the kinds of seasons that are coming karmically. How do we navigate such periods with our free will? So there's a lot that goes into this program on spiritual, philosophical levels. We're learning a lot of craft. We invite live clients in toward the end of the program, and I show you exactly what a day in the life of my practice looks like, so you can actually see how this craft material goes into action with real people. There are over 100 hours worth of classroom content, 30 lectures, about 2 to 3 hours each. There's 12 additional guest lectures. There's breakout study sessions that you can have tutoring in. We have a tutoring staff that's there to help year round. You can also ask me questions year round. We have bonus reading, listening, optional assignments, all sorts of stuff. You get to download everything. You can attend live or participate remotely. Great class. I love this program. It's literally like, this is, again, what I've poured most of my heart and soul into creating. Something to really train and prepare astrologers for a life of using astrology as a spiritual practice or reading for others or both. So anyway, if you want to take advantage of the early bird rate, you have until right before the start of class. So just a couple more weeks, you can save $500 off. You can use a payment plan if you need it. We also have need-based tuition assistance. If for some reason you're on a really tight budget, try to make sure nobody's priced out. All right, well, thank you guys. And let's dive into the astrology of November today. There's a whole lot to talk about, like I said. So I'm going to go sort of transit by transit through the days of the month that I will be looking at in particular. So we're going to start with November 2nd. And we're just going to go sequentially. So November 2nd, one of the major transits that we're seeing is going to be, and this you could really see it November 1st into the 2nd. Mercury is coming back through the square to Pluto. And one of the reasons that this is significant is because if you remember last month, Mercury stationed and turned retrograde in a square to Pluto as Pluto was stationing and turning direct. It was a very significant transit. And then Mercury went through its retrograde, went through this intense period of combustion with Mars and the Sun in Libra, now turning direct as the morning star is starting to speed up again and hitting a square to Pluto. So some of the things to watch for during Mercury Pluto that we'll be talking about next week will be Again, the tendency for the revelation of hidden or secretive material, intense or in-depth communication, issues around technology. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see, big news in the tech industry for different kinds of things being released or promoted, or different kinds of scandals or controversies. It's all par for the course with Mercury, Pluto. When you have to understand something that's deep and complex, but by working to understand something, you grow as a person. Mercury, Pluto can also involve complicated ethical situations, especially while Mercury is in the sign of Libra. So we're going to see this right at the beginning of the month next week, and we'll be visiting this transit early next week in full video. So when we go past that, the next new moon is really interesting. You're going to see a new moon coming through here. Mars will have moved into Scorpio, by the way. That's kind of a big transit coming up over the weekend. And you can see here that the new moon is forming right around the 12th degree of Scorpio. Well, that happens to be in an exact opposition with Uranus. So one of the reasons that I think that this next moon cycle, riding all the way through December, because December's astrology features a major Venus retrograde in a conjunction with Pluto. We have the Saturn-Uranus square. We have an eclipse in December. It's a big, big month. Simultaneously, we also see that this moon cycle that starts at the beginning of November that defines the month, starts at the beginning of November that defines the month of November, involves a Uranian signature. We're going to talk about this again at length when the new moon comes around. What this essentially means is that Uranus, the god of revolution, rebellion, defiance, the upstart planet that likes to break norms and conventions, think outside of the box, but can also be jarring, sudden, and very disruptive and sort of chaotic, like a lightning strike, or like the Tower card in tarot. This tones the whole cycle ahead. So I like this. I think that, a Uranian moon cycle means a cycle of revolution and change that's sudden, rapid, exciting, that evolves us in many ways, that helps us to individuate and grow, that helps us to shed unhealthy forms of dependency in favor of maybe healthier independence. These are the kinds of themes I expect to see with the opposition to Uranus. At the same time, some startling, shocking, unexpected things come with Uranian moon cycles. So we're going to see that in a big way. Also, because you can see Mars is at the beginning of Scorpio here. By later on in the month, Mars is going to hit the opposition to Uranus, and that's really when we're going to see some of the, I think, probably more dynamic changes around the full moon. But anyway, we'll come back to that in a minute. So that's the new moon. If we go forward a little bit more to the 10th, now I'm not covering every single transit of the month. I typically go for what I think is most significant. This is a big one. On the 10th, we're at the first quarter moon moment. Remember, Uranian moon cycle. So just keep thinking Uranus is doing the revolutionary work throughout the whole cycle. And what are the flashpoints? Well, check this out. Here's a first quarter moon coming through in Aquarius, while Mercury and Mars are in a conjunction and both square to Saturn. So you're going to see this as almost like a stalemate moment, as a moment of, I like this combination for things that are very productive, that work hard or well under pressure, that deal with breakthroughs. Like if you were studying for a test, this would be a great aspect to have around. If you need to do something with precision, if you need to have a command of information, if you need to communicate something with principle, if there's an aura of perseverance, determination, seriousness, mental fortitude, productivity around this energy, around this transit, which I really like. It's a good energy. But at the same time, you are potentially going to see, more outbursts mentally, verbally, maybe more severity in thinking, like almost a rigidity around the mind and communication and speech. You could also see just, almost like that kind of entrenched dogmatic kind of energy around this transit. And also, frankly, you have to be careful of this one around things like accidents and injuries, or Mercury, Mars, Saturn is kind of like, Mars is like the gas pedal and Saturn's like the brake pedal. So when they get into a square, sometimes you're trying to do something too fast, you get the cosmic no from Saturn in the form of a little, I don't know, a little injury, a little sickness. You're working too hard, you're pushing too hard, and your body's not going to be able to do it or something like that. I've seen people break bones under this transit, for example. Not to like put that out there and make you all attract that, as one would say, but just to know that this is a transit that you have to be measured with, because the gas and the brake are trying to work simultaneously, and that can invite some mishaps. So we're going to be watching this one because this is a big moment. It's a moment where there's something in the energy of the moon cycle that's trying to push through and get something done. But it's like, well, how strong, how much, make sure it's not, we're not like white knuckling things. So we'll be talking about that one too. All right. So we're going down to, that's going to be, I feel like that'll probably be like a 2 or 3 part series, because that transit is so, it's quick, but it's powerful. All right. So go forward. Maybe my favorite transit of the month is the sun square to Jupiter. There's a very heroic, victorious, kind of relieving quality to this. When the sun gets together with Jupiter, there's usually an aura of confidence, a feeling of victory or achievement, a can-do optimism. There's sometimes a sense of heroism in the air, or even a feeling of, the good use of authority, the coach that inspires you, the mentor, professor, guru, or sage that somehow, lights your candle. And so I love this transit for just a transit of positivity, hope, optimism. And it's right when we need it, in the middle of a transit that features the energy of breakthrough. There's just a ton of like, let's have these breakthroughs. And you'll see that it comes, I didn't mention this one, we will be mentioning this, but you can see that on November 13th, just a few days before, Mercury, is going to go through the opposition to Uranus, which also has the feeling of like little electrical sparks in your brain, giving you all sorts of insights and breakthrough creativity and things like that. So right around the 13th to the 15th, really good energy that is taking us right up to the full moon moment. The full moon moment is a little bit more wild. Let's put it that way. We have the full moon coming through in Taurus right around the 17th, 18th. At the same time, we're going to see Mars oppose Uranus. And that has the feeling of conflagration, like the fire and the kind of the fireworks display of the moon cycle. This is the moment of Uranian breakthrough that I think the cycle promises at the outset. Mars opposite Uranus, that could be like, it's like the French Revolution, kind of bloody, but maybe like some positive things to a revolution, and then there's the blood of revolution, and there's the heads in the street kind of revolution. And Mars opposite Uranus will fight at all costs for its freedom and so forth. So the potential for breakthroughs and so forth to become a little bit more, what do I want to say? Sudden and potentially a little bit more violent or sharp or pointed, explosive even. It's a very temporary energy. It's not going to last forever, but this is a very powerful full moon in that regard. And let's be real here. The full moon is also, I think the full moon is actually on the 19th. Let me just push it through. Yeah, it's going to be on the 19th. So let me show you. The full moon is going to be an eclipse as well. So here we go. So you can see here that the full moon is in Taurus, and it's just a few degrees off from the North Node in Gemini, out of sign. So this is a lunar eclipse. So we're getting a lunar eclipse in Taurus. And with the Uranian signature right behind it, circumstances in our lives are going to change enforceably, like forcing change, creating change, sudden, instantaneous, sudden, dramatic, pointed, aggressive, assertive, action-oriented. None of this has to be bad. None of this has to be unfortunate. It's just a very dynamic energy that's saying change now, evolve now, revolution now, with the kick of Mars. And then the signature of a lunar eclipse, which means, the moon is the ruler of the sublunary sphere, of the world of circumstance and change, the fluctuations of the environment around us, including the body. So changes to the body, changes to the mind, changes to the environment that are sudden, rapid, kind of instigated by that Mars energy that have been seeded since the beginning of the cycle. These are very dynamic changes, right? So that's where we're going to spend most of our time this month in terms of the videos that I'm making around the middle of the month. There's going to be a lot of focus on that. If we go forward a little bit more through, so that's all taking us through about the 19th. Again, one of the saving graces this month is Mercury, or is Jupiter. Right after the right after the lunar eclipse, you're going to see Mercury in Scorpio squaring Jupiter. And also you're going to see the moon on that day happening to be configured by trine to Jupiter. So I like that just right after that full moon, there's actually some really nice Jupiterian lift. So I think, you got to feel good knowing that Jupiter is essentially beholding the Taurus Scorpio axis from the square position, which is a position that we would call one of bonification, or one that mitigates and provides relief and support. So Jupiter in Aquarius has a broad vision and is going to be able to roll with the punches this month for us and offer us some support, which is nice. The sun hits the square earlier in the month. And Mercury, right after the full moon lunar eclipse, is hitting the square to Jupiter, which can provide us, again, with just that feeling of confidence and optimism, and being able to find a silver lining or receive some form of support or abundance, even through something of the revolutionary chaos and sudden rapid change signatures of Uranus during the moon cycle. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to talk about is another very positive transit at the end of the month. I'm not covering, again, just kind of skipping around a little bit with some things. For example, the sun and Mercury will move into Sagittarius. I think that's an interesting transit. You're going to see some trines to Neptune that are interesting. We might talk about some of those trines to Neptune from Scorpio. But at any rate, on the 28th, here we go. On the 28th of the month, we're going to see Mercury moving into the cazimi with the sun through direct motion. So this conjunction between Mercury and the sun, Mercury is debilitated in Sagittarius, but at the heart of the sun and with the south node there, I like this as an idea or as a moment of insight, especially into the ego, into the nature of our sense of self, our temporary sense of self in this lifetime, and almost like the wisdom or the illumination that's possible in this moment is something that I'm really drawn to. Mercury cazimi last year in the sign, for example, came about. I think I've told you guys the story. Came about actually when one of my YouTube listeners who had some very serious mental health problems took his own life. And I have to say that was probably, I'm probably not going to see anything like that again. But in terms of the insights that I was able to have personally with Mercury at the heart of the sun, but debilitated in terms of, I don't know, just the position of, having some kind of platform to speak from and some kind of influence that people, may perceive that I have or not, or whatever. There was so many insights around that. And I've often found that that's the case with Mercury cazimi in general. It doesn't really matter what the dignity is, but the South Node also has this very humbling effect for the sun, where it can show us some of the shadows of, the ego or the limits of our own knowledge or authority. And so as a kind of insightful but humbling moment for Mercury and the sun, I really like this. And remember, this is coming very close before the beginning of December's eclipse in the same kind of range in Sagittarius. So I like this. Mercury cazimi to me seems like it could be a very insightful and like, like sagely wisdom, maybe a little bit of wisdom about our own shadows too. But I'm looking forward to that one personally. At any rate, that's what I've got for the month of November. I hope that you guys find this interesting. I hope that you'll also consider coming and studying with me for the next year. We're going to start classes on November 13th, just a couple of weeks away. And not long after that, in December, I'll be starting my readings and passages course for people who have already completed my year one program or who are enrolled. You have to be enrolled simultaneously in my year one program at least, or have taken it to take the readings and passages program. I'll be telling you a little bit more about that. What else in November is exciting? My Kickstarter begins. The last 40 days of the year, I always do fundraising from all of you to support my channel for the year ahead. So we'll be doing that. And there's tons of really cool rewards you can get if you donate and support my channel for 2022. So, I'll be talking about that later on. And we're trying to beat last year's backer total if we can. I think we had about 1,300 or so of you from this channel supported my work in 2021. And thanks to you, we kept the lights on. We had a staff of people that helped me and speaker series and all the need-based tuition scholarships that we're able to give people, a lot of full scholarships we give people. And some of the other work we've been doing, we're in the process of building a community herbal medicine garden out back that'll be completed next summer. Lots of stuff that you guys have helped us do. We can get with that garden, we can give free herbal medicine to people in the community. So a lot of cool things that you guys have enabled me to do because of your support of my work. And we'll be doing the Kickstarter again late November. It'll get started. So I'll have more of that in November as well. All right, that's what I've got for today. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. People were asking, by the way, to see more of the maze that I'm building for my girls for Halloween. So if you want to see it, I've been posting pictures of it on Instagram. My Instagram handle is just Nightlight Astrology. If you can look up acyuta-bhava, or you could look up Nightlight Astrology on Instagram and you'll find me. And if you want to see pictures, I'll be posting pictures and videos of the the crazy maze that I built. And you'll also get to see me in a unicorn costume. So that doesn't make your weekend. All right, you guys have a great weekend and happy Halloween, everyone. Bye.